Hey, what's up guys? So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Blendmount, which is my favorite aftermarket radar detector mount. It's got some nice improvements over the factory suction cup mounts, and I now install them on basically every car. And we're going to go ahead and install the Blendmount here in this car as well, along with a MirrorTap, which is a short radar detector power cable that connects to the powered rearview mirror and basically simplifies the installation and the wiring for you. And so when you're using a hardwire cable like a MirrorTap, it's going to help you avoid having the radar detector's power cable hanging down the dash, and it frees up your cigarette lighter to be used with other devices. Now, to give you a little bit more background and context, I've currently got a radar detector installed right here with the suction cup on the windshield here in the EV9. I've also got a dash cam over here on that side. I want to do a separate video kind of going over the wiring here for the dash cam, how to tuck it in. There's a couple solutions I want to go over for that. But with this radar detector, I want to go ahead and get it off the windshield and installed here on the stem of the rear view mirror. Now, I've got an R7 installed at the moment. I had a Max Cam 360C installed originally, but it wasn't happy with the EV here with some of the voltage levels it was using. Plus, I had a couple suction cup failures with the whole thing failing, just a bigger, heavier radar detector, and actually falling and hitting the dash. That happened a couple times. I've since swapped it out for the Escort Redline. I had the same issue with the suction cup failures. That one hit the dash a couple times and even started to create some rattles inside the detector. Obviously something broke, and I've since sent both detectors back to Escort for repairs and checkups just to make sure that everything is working properly, and the detector can obviously detect radar properly too. I've been having a little bit better luck with some of the Uniden detectors just because they're physically lighter, but I've cleaned up pretty much all of my different single suction cup mounts like that. The trick they mentioned is just using some warm water. Soap turns out is not actually needed. And luckily, since cleaning the suction cups again, it seems like things are working better here. Now, my typical favorite spot to install radar detectors is actually up here above the rear view mirror. This way it leaves kind of the best visibility right here. A lot of times if you've got a tint strip, you can even hide the radar detector back there visually. Radar is not affected by most tint strips as long as it's a non-metallic tint strip, and I like it kind of here out of the way. The thing is, in this car, with bigger radar detectors that have arrows, a lot of times the sun visor physically gets blocked like this. Obviously, your mileage may vary. With the bigger mount like this, it actually kind of blocks my rear view mirror as well from being able to get up. So if you use a smaller mount, that can help, but I still have issues with the wider detectors. Usually smaller radar detectors fit a little bit better. They don't have that second rear antenna, so they can fit a little bit better here, but I tend to prefer some of the slightly larger ones to get the directional arrows. This higher mounting location can also be nice because the mirror itself can help support the radar detector, especially in case of any suction cup failures. If you're going for a lower mount like this, one thing you can consider is actually taking the power cable and going up and over the rear view mirror stem like that. That way, in case like the suction cup ever falls, it can actually catch your detector like this. So that's actually saved me from many occasions when the radar detector has fallen off the higher mount for me. And obviously that'll be even more helpful if you go for the traditional hardwire install. I probably should have done the same thing when installing those earlier detectors here in this location. It does put extra tension here on the cable. I can't like tuck it away as cleanly and easily when installed there, but it does help to support the cable. Now, either way, I want to go ahead and kind of just avoid a lot of the issues that I've been seeing by installing the detector right here under the rear view mirror. What I like about installing it here in this location is that it's going to make for a nice, solid, secure mount. No more worries about suction cup failures due to age or temperature changes or when it rains or whatever. The main downside, though, is the fact that it does block a little bit more of my visibility. You want to make sure it's maybe just under the rearview mirror so you can still access the buttons here on top. That's less of an issue when you've got it installed in a big car. It's more of an issue when you've got a smaller car, and so proportionally it takes up a little bit more of your field of view. But typically when you've got it installed, it's okay in bigger cars. So that's what I'm going to be going for here in this SUV. Now, for the Blendmount itself, it comes in two halves. The first half is designed to attach to your specific vehicle's rearview mirror stem. It's basically just kind of like a round adapter like this that connects to their rearview mirror stem. And the size and shape is going to vary depending on the size and shape of what you got in your car. So there's a variety of different options to suit different specific cars. And then for the bottom half of the Blendmount, which I don't have attached here yet, you can see there's a couple holes right there. That's going to allow you to connect different brackets for a variety of different radar detectors, black view dash cams. I use them all the time for my GoPros. That's how you see a lot of the videos when I've got the radar detector installed in the car. And basically they've got just a lot of these different brackets. So depending on what kind of detector you're choosing, again, they have round ones here for some of the black view dash cams. You just get the one that you need, and then it just attaches to your specific Blendmount and your specific detector. Then for the power cable, we're going to go ahead and upgrade from the cigarette lighter power plug that's included with the detector. Now, the traditional hardwire option involves taking a cable and kind of running it all along your headliner, down your A-pillar, and into a vehicle's fuse box. Another option is going to be powering the detector just from your powered rearview mirror. So if you've got like a home link installed in your rearview mirror, compass, backup camera, powered rearview mirror, any of that kind of stuff, and it's not just a traditional mirror, then you're going to be able to tap into that power source to power your radar detector. Now there's a couple different MirrorTap cables. The traditional one just looks like this. It's a short cable, about a foot plus minus or so. One end plugs into the radar detector. The other end actually plugs into the back of the powered rearview mirror. You've got one power tap here for power, the red one, and then the black one here is for ground. They make different size connectors to fit into different cars. It can be a little bit tough to kind of know which size you need. If it's a little bit too big, it doesn't fit. If it's too small, then it doesn't secure properly and it just keeps sliding back out. So for that reason, they now actually sell an upgraded version called the MTX. This is a shorter version of it here, but you can see it plugs into the same radar detector power port, but there's no connectors here on this end. What you've got instead is like a variety of different replacement connectors. And the idea is that they come in different sizes, so you can find the exact right size that fits into your specific powered rearview mirror. Now, for the sake of discussion, let's say that these two happen to be the ones that I find wind up fitting here in my car. What I do is I just then grab the cable and then I just plug these right in here to the end of the cable like this. So there goes my power, and then my ground is just going to slide on here just like that. Okay, there we go. And then once they're on, that comes with a little bit of heat shrink. You could slide this on and apply it just to help kind of like secure these connectors so they don't wind up inadvertently sliding off. There's also different versions of the cable that have like barrel connectors if your detector happens to have one of these instead of the kind of like traditional sort of RJ11 cable. Now, I've actually already done this install here in my car, but I wound up having to remove it. The cable that I was using, it was this one, but it turns out the cable, it's a pretty short one, and so it didn't actually have the link to run from like the powered rearview mirror stem down to the radar detector. Again, they do make longer versions of the cable like this. You can see that was the original one, and this is the extra length I've got on like the traditional MirrorTap cable. So for that reason, I've actually gotten a replacement MTX cable. Looks like this is the 15-inch version that I'm going to be basically reinstalling this cable here instead to replace the one that I was using before. So for that reason, it might be better to err on the side of going for something a little bit longer just in case you don't have enough slack. If you do have extra slack, you can always kind of bundle it up and tuck it out of the way. Maybe the best thing is just go ahead and measure before you do the install. But if you're curious, you're not sure which one to get, maybe go for a little bit longer cable. Last but not least, as far as some tools that are helpful for the install, if you've got a multimeter or a voltmeter, this is going to be helpful to not only, well, measure the voltage of the different pins back there, but just to figure out which ones actually turn on and off with the car, to know where to plug the power cable into. Now, I've noticed that with a lot of these, the probes tend to be kind of bigger and they might not actually fit into the connectors for your rearview mirror. A little trick for that I like that you'll see me do in a little bit here is to use these MTX connectors. You can basically put one into the back of the rearview mirror stem and then just kind of extend that pin and connect your multimeters probes right to there. This way you're able to actually go in there and like probe around even if these things don't actually fit into the rearview mirror stem. So that can actually be a cool little trick here. But either way, now that we've gone over the blend mount, the MirrorTap cables, the different options, the tools that we're going to use, etc., let's go ahead and start getting into this and get everything here installed and up and running. All right, so to start things off, let's go ahead and begin here first with the wiring. And we've got this little cover here we can remove, and this is going to give us access to this little power cable. And this is actually what provides power to the whole rearview mirror. Now you can remove the whole shroud here if you like. That might actually help with running the cables. Actually, let's go ahead and do that next. Kind of pull it off like that. Now, taking a closer look at the connector itself, the wires run here into the back, which is where we're going to be inserting our MirrorTap prongs. This is the part that goes into the mirror itself, and sometimes you can actually probe around in here to figure out the pinouts a little bit easier. If that doesn't work, we're going to have to probe around back in there where the MirrorTap cables are going to go. Now, what we're going to be looking for ultimately are two different wires. We want to find the power wire that turns on and off with the car, and we also want to find the ground wire. Usually ground is black, but not necessarily. It can vary from one car to another. These cable colors can also mean different things. You can always Google online to find out what the cables mean for your car, or you can just kind of probe around, which is what we're going to do, and just kind of figure it out ourselves. So I'm going to grab my multimeter here and just turn it to measure DC voltage. And when I'm probing around, I'm going to assume that the black wire is going to be my ground, and then I'm going to look for 12 volts off of that. I do want to be careful that when I'm probing, I don't actually wind up touching my probes here like this, because that could actually short something out, blow a fuse, potentially cause some damage, but probably not, hopefully just blow a fuse. So I'm going to be really careful with that. Again, because things are so small, it might wind up being better off to use the MirrorTap connectors. Now, I'm going to go ahead and power the car on now to go ahead and ensure that I start getting power here from these connectors as I start probing around. Now to start measuring things, I'm going to go ahead and put my ground probe right here on what is this black wire. And then just going to try to carefully go in here and touch this next wire next to it. And it does look like that's giving me 13.7 volts here. Next, I got to go ahead and turn off the car and make sure that that turns off with the car too. I can also kind of probe around for other pins as well, but I'm kind of having difficulty getting it up there and holding it so I can measure stuff. So I'm going to try the MTX solution anyways, just to make my life here a little bit easier. Now these MirrorTaps, as you can see, they come with different size connectors, big and small. If it's too small, it'll slide in, but it won't actually stay in. It'll just kind of fall out. If it's too big, you're not gonna be able to get it out in the first place. So we'll kind of play around to see what size actually fits best, as well as kind of like what part of the connector you want to go in to make sure you've got a good contact. Now starting off, let's begin here first with the thickest connector. That one, it looks like, tries to go in, but not quite enough room for that to go in there. The next connector also looks pretty big, but it's actually a little bit thinner. Let's try this one. That one actually seems to slide in pretty well there. That's good. I like to see that. Let's try the other side. Cool. Next, we'll try with one of the smaller ones. This one, it looks like it goes in, but this one actually slides in a little bit too easily and slides out really easily as well, so I don't think that'll actually hold very well. And so for that reason, I'm going to go with these longer, thinner connectors. So first, I'll go ahead and just grip my ground and slide it in like that. Then I'll do the exact same thing here with the power connector. I did earlier have better luck coming in from the side instead of from the back here, but I'll play around and see if maybe these longer pins actually work a little bit better for me. I'll grab the MirrorTap cable and slide on the ground pin here. And then we'll do the same thing here with the power pin. Then we're gonna grab our radar detector. We'll go ahead and plug in this cable, and then moment of truth, let's turn on the car and see what happens. There we go. Looks like we're up and running here, running off this MirrorTap cable. Now I want to try jiggling things around here a little bit to make sure I've got a good contact. Nothing kind of gets, whoop, look at that. So that looks like an issue. So I'm going to go in there and just try to secure things a little better. Yeah, some of these seem a little bit loose here. So I'll try maybe going into like a different side of the connector. I think I'm actually going to switch to smaller connectors here so I can go in from the side, hopefully get a better contact. I wasn't able to get like a nice strong contact from those bigger, thinner ones. That seems to go in pretty well and hold securely going in from the side. And then we'll try the same thing here with the power wire to get a hopefully nice, secure fit. Okay, we got that in. This seems to be holding much better now with the shorter ones, but from the side. So let's plug it in and see if that works better. We'll go ahead and power it back on, and yep, sure enough, there we go. We are up and running now here with these smaller connectors. So I think I'm gonna go with those. Again, just a little trial and error here to see exactly which one works best. Next, we can go ahead and start plugging things in and do a little bit of cable management. So we'll just grab this connector here, and we'll just slide it back into position. And something I forgot to do before was actually grab a little bit of heat shrink and put it over these connectors. So I'm gonna pull this off real quick and then just apply some heat shrink here. So I'll just go ahead and slide it onto these connectors like that. And then I'll put these back on. Then I'll slide this heat shrink down here over the connectors. Turn on the car real quick to double check that it reconnected properly. And then I'll actually just unplug this again here real quick. So when I do the flame, it's a little bit farther away from the electronics, but we'll just do a little bit of heat shrink like that. And we're good to go. Then I'll plug this back in here again. And something else is I want to make sure I'm not putting too much tension here on the connectors there or this connection point and having everything unplugged. So I think I'm going to use one of these little clips that come with different dash cams. And then basically the idea is I just want to find a good spot so that I can maybe like stick it somewhere here like this. So if the cable itself pulls down, this thing stops it. Better yet, I can actually put it over here on this side just so there's a little bit more room here to work with. And then as you can see, we've got a nice tight connection and no more stress here along those points. And then as far as actually running the cable, I can run it just right over there if I want to do the traditional install location above the rearview mirror. The cable length is a little bit long for that, but because I want to go below the rearview mirror, I do have some additional length available now to kind of install it wherever I need, and then I can always just zip tie any sort of excess up there. And actually one thing that's really nice that I like about this cable cover here that goes behind the rearview mirror, I've got slots here to run the cable out to the driver's side like that if I want it up above the rearview mirror. I've also got some slots to run the cable out underneath like that to go down to the blend mount. So that's actually a nice little touch here. Alternatively, I can also just run the cable straight out like that. That might wind up being a better option too, and then I can just plug right in there. So again, I got a variety of different options. Next, we can go ahead and install this blend mount here. I'm gonna start by actually removing one of these to make it easier to kind of like slide the whole thing over to the stem like this. Then we'll go ahead and start screwing it on like that. And then same thing with the upper screw here on top like that. And then all of this at the bottom is adjustable too, so that I can get everything placed exactly where I want, kind of forward, backwards, up or down, etc. In this case, I want to be able to access the buttons here under the rearview mirror as well as this switch right there. So I'm just going to make sure that it's out of the way. And I also, of course, want to make sure that I can access the buttons here on top. So it's just a matter of fine tuning and getting everything dialed in exactly where you want. And then once everything's tightened down like that, you've got a nice rock solid connection like that that won't move, plus no more suction cups to worry about and your detector falling down to the ground. The power cable then just plugs into the side like this. If you have a little bit of extra, you can always shorten it and maybe zip tie it or something as needed, but otherwise you're good to go. And so yeah, that's a look at the upgrade process to add a blend mount and a MirrorTap to your car. I've been driving around with it for the past week or two or so, and just like with previous blend mount installs I've done in other cars, it's been great. It's nice having a nice rock solid mount and not having to worry about any suction cup failures anymore, which can and do happen. If you want to pick up a blend mount for yourself as well, you can use the coupon code VORTEX10. I'll drop a link down in the description to Blendmount's website, where you can actually go through their picker and like choose the exact vehicle that you drive, which detector or dash cam you use. They support pretty much all the different detectors, Blendmount dash cams, GoPros, etc. And you can kind of go through their vehicle selector to figure out which setup is best for you. And then again, just use the coupon code VORTEX10 at checkout to save yourself 10% off when you go to purchase one as well. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Hope you guys are all doing great, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.